My entitled mother tries to set me up at dinner by surprise inviting my boyfriend over just to then accuse me of cheating on him. Here's what happened. I'm a 20-year-old female and I do art commissions. My boyfriend, who's 22 years old, has always been supportive of my art and even modeled poses I needed for some of my commissions if his body type fit what the client was looking for. We both have a circle of friends we both share. Some of the friends in the circle go to the gym with them, and each of them have their own unique body shape, and they are all very different. Usually people will commission some of their own characters, but most are characters from animes and stuff like that. Some of his friends have very similar body types to what I'm commissioning for. Every character has their own body type, some thinner, some more muscular, and with our friends' permission, they will do the pose that I asked for them. It's not suggestive or anything like that for either parties. I just use them as references, and this will be very important later on. My mother saw me talking to one of our mutual friends, as well as me tried to pose him on FaceTime to get the angle and pose that I needed. However, the only thing she saw was me telling a shirtless man to pose on his knees. So trust me, this was very awkward for all parties. I got the pose that I wanted, and he sent a few photos in that pose with different angles that his girlfriend took. She has been a reference for me a few times, and she and him support me and know it's not anything intimate. Well, my mother called my boyfriend without me knowing out to dinner with us, and I was surprised and happy to have him over for dinner. When he sat down, she asked me if I had anything I'd like to tell him, and at this point, I was so confused. I said that I didn't, but I was happy to have him over anyways. She then got upset and told him to brace himself, and then told him that I cheated on him. He asked her what she meant, and she told him I was on the phone with a man on his knees. And when my mom said that, I honestly was so blown away because I never thought she would ever try to ruin my relationship in this way. After my mom said this, my boyfriend and I just started laughing. My mother asked what was so funny about me being unfaithful to my boyfriend, so I had to explain to her that it wasn't me being unfaithful and how I was having our friend pose for a drawing. When I told her this, she just sat there and apologized profusely. I even called up our buddy to confirm that no, nothing sketchy was going on, and my friend and his girlfriend told her that they have been my personal models for a while. I mean, seriously, how my mom ever forgot that I do this is beyond me. Thankfully, everything is fine now, but honestly, this scenario absolutely blew my mind. Yeah, I think I would lose my mind if my mom tried to set me up and make my significant other think that I was cheating on them. Like, seriously, what was she thinking in that situation? Does she not know that her daughter does art commissions? Like, that has to be obvious at this point, right? I'm willing to bet she has all this, like, art supplies, as she probably talks about doing commissions constantly. Like, this isn't a new hobby. Like, she's already using, like, people as references just to try and make sure that she gets the character right. Like, why on earth would you make the assumption, oh my god, she's gotta be cheating? Like, that is such a giant leap in logic, it's not even funny. Like, just imagine for a second if the boyfriend didn't take this situation well. What if he jumped ahead of what was actually happening and made some assumption that was like the opposite of what was actually going on? This original post his mom literally could have ruined her relationship right then and there. Like, the appropriate thing to do would have been to, like, pull your daughter aside and be like, hey, who is that guy on his knees on your video chat? And then it could have been cleared up right then and there. But no, instead she decided to take the toxic route and be like, ooh, I'm gonna catch her in her lie. So thankfully this all worked out in the end, because this seriously could have gone really badly. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today I messed up by calling for a welfare check on my neighbor, and as a result, the cops have completely kicked in her door, and now I feel so guilty and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Well, I definitely set myself up to get yelled at by my neighbor. My partner and I haven't seen our neighbor in 6 weeks. She lives alone, she's in her 60s, she suffers from emphysema, and is only ever at home. In the 8 years that we've been here, I don't think she's ever been on holiday. We see her on our camera every other day going to her bin, or pruning her garden, or we see her lights on when we go for a walk and leave the house. But lately, there's been absolutely nothing. A couple weeks back, I knocked on the door to check and there was no answer. My partner has been telling me to call the police, but I've been reluctant because I know she is Indian and she may have gone to see family abroad or something like that. Well, today I bit the bullet and asked for a welfare check by the police. They tell me to knock on the door again, but I get nothing. I even shout through the letterbox and still nothing. I look through the window and the curtains are open, the lights are off, and you can see through the kitchen, and still there is nobody there. They asked for her name and unfortunately I don't know it. I just know that she has a daughter who lives away and rarely comes to visit. She gets her shopping delivered, but that's not happened since before we noticed. They say they'll reach out to the hospital to see if they have details and they would send someone around. Well, I hang up and leave after that, and I don't expect anything done that day. Well, midnight, I get a knock on the door. My partner and myself both are night owls anyways, so that's fine. And clearly it's the police. I tell them again about the scenario. I tell them about how she has a daughter, and I send them on their merry way, and I assume that they reach out to the next of kin to find out about her. But nope, that is absolutely not what happened. 30 minutes later, they came back and all I hear is a loud boom, and my house was practically shaking from the deep banging of their doorbuster. Now I hear it 6 more times, and I say to my wife, oh no, it's starting now? My other neighbors have kids, so I knew this was gonna wake them up as well. Another 6 times I hear it, and we are wondering why on earth the house is shaking so much. I look out the window and the neighbors' lights are on. I think to myself, great, here's some explaining to the neighbors for tomorrow. There's about 12 more booms, where I notice that they're struggling and they could just go out the back, but after a small pause, I think they're finally in. I check the back window and I see a police officer around the back. They have been hammering the gate that is on my house. So by now, the neighbors coming to check on what's going on, as well as 2 other neighbors walking up. So I decided to go out and talk with them, and the police officer that is telling them what's going on. They are still slamming the door. I mean, it must be about 20 to 30 minutes of bangs by now. The guy's looking tired and he's passing it on to his buddy, who is also looking like he's had better days. The police officer told us anything could have happened, so I was right to call. I said, well, I wasn't expecting you to start knocking the door down at 1 in the morning, and she stated that they had to, as they couldn't leave the scene unchecked, as anyone could be inside, they simply didn't know. So they keep banging on the front door, because the rear entrance to the house is a conservatory, and breaking the door would likely damage the structure. They are there for ages. I mean, this door is the Goliath of doors. It is simply not moving. After another 5 minutes of banging, we all get bored and go back into our homes, and then after another 5 minutes of banging, and the 2 boys in the 2 houses went to look again, there was then another silence. I say to my wife, well, it looks like they finally have gotten in. I then decide to go out the front again and check, and my assumptions were correct. They had flashlights going around room to room, and I suddenly realized that they wouldn't be looking in all the rooms if there was a body. It made me realize that no, she's not in the house, and she's probably on holiday, and I think to myself, oh no, she is gonna be so angry. The police officer comes out and says, well, she's not in there, so I think to myself, oh no, because now I know what's going to happen. This old lady is on a lovely holiday, seeing friends and family, and her good-for-nothing neighbor has ruined it all, as she can't even get into her own house. She'll return at 1 in the morning to a house that she can't even enter. So I asked them, okay, so what are the next steps? The police officer actually said, well, we're gonna board up the door and the gate, we'll put a notice that we've been here and for her to reach out. I then asked them, okay, but what about the damages? Hoping that it's gonna be covered or I'm gonna get it. They say to me, yeah, we'll cover that, she just needs to call us. So I think to myself, well, that's a relief, but she's not getting a door until after she thinks that she's been robbed. The police officer then hits me with the kicker. He says to me, yeah, we'll try to reach out to her next of kin to see if they have seen her or know where she's at. So now I'm thinking either they didn't bother reaching out to the next of kin or they couldn't get hold of them. Either way, I've got a lot of explaining to do, and hopefully that conversation doesn't go badly. Yeah, I want to start off first by saying that you are not at fault here. You did not do anything wrong for being worried about your neighbor. It's the cops that rolled up that are absolutely at fault in this situation. Like, it's not even close. Like, seriously, let me get this straight. They didn't think to reach out to any family members or anything like that first. Their first response was, okay, let's kick the door in. Like, what are you doing? This is seriously unbelievable. These cops absolutely suck. There's no way they can just do that and get away with it. I know if I came home, I wouldn't be angry with my neighbor for checking in on me. I'd be upset by the cops kicking my door in. So truly, I would not be hard on yourself. I think it's completely fine that you were checking in, and if anything, you can point the finger at these stupid cops for kicking her door in, because you never asked for them to do that. And in my opinion, that is a complete unnecessary escalation that they very easily could have avoided. Am I the jerk for not inviting my stepsister to my wedding after she accused me of trying to steal her thunder by planning my wedding date close to when she was gonna have her baby shower? Here's what happened. So I got engaged to my longtime partner by the name of Matt. Matt is not his real name. We were thrilled to start planning our wedding. We decided to have a small, intimate ceremony with close friends and family. Among the potential guests was my stepsister by the name of Emily. Emily is also not her real name. We don't have a great relationship, but I didn't want to create any unnecessary drama, so I intended to invite her and her husband. The issue began when I shared our wedding day with the family. Emily immediately reacted negatively, saying our wedding was too close to her planned baby shower, which was scheduled for the following month. She accused me of stealing her thunder by having my wedding so close to her event. I was shocked by her response, because we had never discussed her baby shower date, and I couldn't have known about it when we chose our wedding date. I tried to explain this, but Emily insisted that I should have somehow known and adjusted our plans to accommodate her. The tension escalated when Emily called a family meeting to discuss my selfishness in planning my wedding near her baby shower. During the meeting, she accused me of being inconsiderate and tried to overshadow her life events. The rest of our family members seemed torn, with some taking her side and others understanding my perspective. In the end, I felt like I was being treated unfairly and that Emily was making unreasonable demands. So I made the difficult decision to not invite her to our wedding, fearing that her presence would only add stress and tension to our special day. Now our family is divided, and some family members are angry at me for not inviting Emily. She continues to claim that I'm the one being selfish and unreasonable. So honestly, I need to know, am I the jerk for not inviting my stepsister to my wedding after she accused me of trying to steal her thunder? What should I do? Okay, I do not think of the jerk at all. Your stepsister sounds unbelievably entitled. Like seriously, what is her problem? She is actually walking around here being like, wow, my baby shower is more important than your wedding. Like seriously, lady? No, it's not. You can move your baby shower date, no problem. They have a wedding venue that they probably rented out, and they have potential family members traveling from out of state just to show up to this wedding. They can't just change their wedding date out of nowhere. Like when that date is announced, that's exactly when it's gonna happen. Like your stepsister could easily push the date of her baby shower to the next week if she really wanted to. Like these two events are not even close to being the same thing. Also, your stepsister is unbelievably petty. Does she really need to call a family meeting because of your selfishness, saying you're trying to steal her thunder and how you're just being unreasonable? Like seriously, this lady has some issues, and she clearly wants everything all the time to be about her. So no, you're not the jerk. And you know what? I don't blame you for uninviting her, because based on the way she's acting right now, you can bet she was gonna try and make some kind of problems at your wedding. So I don't blame you for taking that step, and anyone who doesn't like the fact that your selfish stepsister has been kicked out of your wedding, then they can either deal with it or they could just not show up. Am I the jerk for not making game nights in my store a child-free event? Because at this point, I'm starting to get some complaints and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 35-year-old male and I own a game store and hold board game or D&D night at least 3 times a week. I have a few tables set up in the back so people can come in and play games, along with a small kitchen that is really just a fridge, a microwave, a sink, and a cupboard, so people can have some snacks and drinks while playing. One of the regular groups have been playing D&D in my store on a weekly basis for the past 3 years, and I've sometimes joined them as a guest player, and it has always been great fun. About a year ago, they had to find a new DM because their usual DM didn't have the time to dedicate to preparing campaigns any longer. While they were looking, they still came in weekly, but just played regular board games instead. Now, about a few months ago, this 10-year-old girl by the name of Emma showed up with her mother at one of the game nights. Emma is obviously not her real name. According to her mother, Emma had been spending months making all kinds of materials for playing Dungeons and Dragons, but didn't know anyone who would play with her, so her mother wondered if it was okay for her to ask at my store if anyone would be willing to play. The regular group was more than happy to join in for a session, and it ended up going so well, they asked Emma to DM for them regularly if she wanted to. Fast forward to now, and Emma is DMing 2 days a week, one time for the regular group and one time for one-off sessions with other people to jump in if they want to. I swear this girl is a genius. She has memorized the entire player's handbook and monster guide, and made a fully homebrew campaign that's genuinely fun and exciting, though sometimes also surprisingly dark. Now, here's where the problem starts to come into play. A few other people have started complaining about there being a child on game nights, saying the reason they're playing here is because they have children at home. Now that Emma is also coming to game nights, they feel like they can't play games as they usually do because they keep having to think about whether their language or jokes are inappropriate for the presence of a child. I told them that I never said anything about providing a child-free space, so I won't be banning Emma from coming, while also saying that I'm sorry if they don't like it. But I also said they're welcome to plan their nights on days where Emma isn't there, or find a different place to play. I did tell Emma's mother that Emma is only allowed to be here as long as one of her parents is also present, and that just comes back to common sense because I'm not taking that risk. So honestly, am I the jerk for not banning children from game nights and telling people to just basically suck it up? What should I do? I don't think there's anything wrong with having a kid involved in your Dungeons and Dragons game, and I think you're going about it in the right way. As long as her parents are here, then there's no problem. It sounds like this Emma girl is a really good kid. She doesn't seem like a problem or anything like that, and I honestly don't think it's a problem in that regard. But I do have to say I completely understand where the other adults in the room are coming from. I like joking with my friends and making stupid jokes when kids aren't around. I like just being an adult and letting loose and letting my hair down. So when a 10-year-old girl is sitting at the table, it kind of hinders your ability to be vocal about what's going on, and it stops any kind of progress in the game. So I do see exactly where they're coming from. So while I do think it's a good idea to be welcoming of anybody who wants to come in and play the game, I also think it would be a good idea to make sure there's a specific space that adults can have fun and play Dungeons and Dragons without a kid being present. I really do think there is some kind of middle ground that can be found, and I think this will benefit both you and the rest of the the store if some kind of mutual agreement can't be made. Am I the jerk for telling my stepsister's son the honest truth, which is something that she did not want me to tell him? Here's what happened. When I was 7 years old, I lost my dad, and my mom remarried when I was 9 years old, and my stepsister was 12 at the time. We had very different experiences with the whole blending of the families. I didn't really want it to happen. I wasn't exactly looking to make them my new dad and sister. I mean, they never really became that either, but I have accepted that they are family. With my stepsister, her mom chose not to be in her life, and she always longed for a family where she had a mom and maybe some other siblings. It made us all living together very uncomfortable, with me and her wanting very different things, and her dad and my mom really unhappy with how I felt about us becoming a real family, as they would put it. We're all okay now. We're not so close, but no hate or animosity is there anymore. At least it was hidden until this. So my sister married when she was 20 years old and had her son then too. She lost her husband 2 years ago, and her son is now 9. My stepsister has met a man who's a widower, and he has 2 kids under 3. They are trying to get to the point where they move in together, but her son is not really blending with them, which is how she said it. He's not unkind or rude, but he's not really making an effort is how she views it, and he has said that he doesn't want to be a part of the new family that she wants. They decided to go away for the weekend together and see if that would be a good experience and whether it would help them bond. She said her son ignored when the 3-year-old wanted to hold his hand, and then he didn't want to sit with her partner, who was also looking at the stars on their first night there. He also didn't want to take any photos with any of them. So she decided I needed to talk to him as someone who also lost my dad. She said the adult me could give him a more mature insight into everything. So I told her that I would talk to him, but I would not read from a script, with her telling me to just be honest. Well, I did talk to her son. I assured him that how he was feeling was okay, and that I had felt the same way. I told him it was okay for his feelings to change, and I answered that mine hadn't really. They had instead just softened, so I could like them as people, even if they weren't my dad and my sister. Well, he liked hearing that, and he said he really did believe that would be how he'd feel, and I assured him that it was okay. He was honest with how he just didn't feel the way his mom wanted to, and I related with him on that. Well, my stepsister did not like that, and a couple days later she was calling to cuss me out and saying that I didn't help her like I said I would. She told me her son was more sure now that he did not want to try and be a family with them, and she told me I was so selfish to ruin her life the way I had ruined my mom's. I told her my concern was with her son and how he was doing, but she told me I could get lost. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, it really seems like you were trying to help this kid out. I don't think anything you could have said or done would have changed that kid's mind. He clearly does not like this new family, and there's nothing anybody can do about that besides him. You didn't push him over the edge or validate anything that he feels. You just gave an honest take on what's actually happening around him, and that is not a bad thing in my opinion. I think it's a good thing because you have a good viewpoint on what is happening in this kid's life, and for your stepsister to be acting this way is so inappropriate. She's trying to blame her son's actions on you, but you know what? This is not your fault. No one can force that kid to feel any way that he doesn't want to feel. So honestly, I don't think you're the jerk here. I think the way your stepsister's acting is completely uncalled for, and it's absolutely unacceptable for her to blame something on you that you absolutely didn't do. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.